Y'all good, John?
There we go. I'm y'all good?
Y'all good,
Yeah,
John?
yeah, I am. Yeah, I am.
All right.
I'm good. I'm good. How about you? Y'all good, Eric? We in Texas tonight?
I'm all good. And I survived the weekend with my boy driving.
Ooh.
Finally took him out, convinced him that he needs to learn. Kids these days.
Like took him on a road or continued into the parking lots?
Started in a parking lot and then migrated home. So on Saturdays, we go to lunch and hang out and do some father-son bonding. And he usually gets to pick the place. So we went someplace north Beaverton, and I told him, hey, on the way back, you're going to drive home. So wherever you pick to go, you have to drive home. And I thought he'd pick like the place down the street, right? But he picked someplace way north Beaverton, up by 26 from our house. So good 7-8 miles away from our house. And I did make a compromise with him because the place we went to eat was really crowded and tight fitting, and he was nervous. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I will drive to a parking lot and then we'll swap. So we drove out, got to an elementary school that was close by, went to their parking lot on Saturday, and he drove around the parking lot, and we took back roads, none of the big main 2-lane roads home, just kind of back side roads all the way home, and he did great.
That's awesome.
But he's like, I'm pretty sure there's still his finger marks in the steering wheel, and
and yours in the
well, I think I was fine. He did fine. I had to give him the "you're a little too close to the curb" a number of times. He defaults right instead of defaulting to oncoming traffic. So I suppose that's better, but
that one is better than the other.
When you're taking back roads, especially the back roads we're on,
unless there's a line of parked cars,
there's that through the neighborhoods, or when it's on the less finished streets, there's kind of waterway, right? The road just kind of drops off into 1.5 or 2 feet down for channeling water because, we had to go over some hills and to get back home. So anyways, he's doing okay. He still has no interest in driving. So I'm kind of forcing him at it, but he's getting more and more of his friends are driving and getting their license. He'll be 16 here in a couple months. So I'm like, you're going to have to learn at some point. One of these days you're going to want to drive. And so we'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there.
It's a good thing to learn. It's a good thing to learn. Yeah, I don't know. You read lots of stats about like people that like don't even care to learn these days, and I can really see it for people that live in urban environments.
Yeah.
We very much are not in an urban environment. not even in Beaverton. Yeah. So
no. America was built around the automobile. So not a lot of places you can get away with not having one outside big cities.
Yeah, exactly. So I think my boys will have a leg up because they've driven farm stuff around, mules, riding lawnmowers. I still think, I think only my oldest boy's driven the tractor maybe once or twice, but not more than that. And that's a little bit on him and a little bit on us. Him in that he really doesn't want to help us outside with those kinds of projects very often, and us in that you don't really have small accidents with tractors. On the bright side, they don't go very fast. They don't go very fast. Yeah.
But if you point them at something, they will go that way, no matter what's in front of them,
and potentially go through that. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, one of the things we did this weekend, I think it must have been Sunday. I guess I don't remember which day, but like at the end of our driveway, when you look to the left, there have been these trees that have been growing up that have over the last year or two become really problematic, blocking our view. And just like, I don't know, they were in the ditch, so I don't know how they seeded. They were clearly years old, right. But anyway, and it was partially in the if you have kids learning to drive, it's a little tricky, and you're coming up there because you kind of gotta look to the left, make sure it's clear for a very, very long way, then roll forward so you could see to the right, and then, anyway, it was okay for super experienced drivers. But so I asked my neighbor, I was like, do you mind if I cut those trees down? And he was like, oh, his wife would appreciate that. I was like, done. So I took the chainsaw out there Sunday, I think, and had one brief moment of, oh, crap.
That's usually not something you want to hear when you're using a chainsaw.
Well, it didn't have anything to do with the chainsaw. It had to do with car, because I'm right next to the road.
Yeah. Cut
down this 10-foot tree, look down, is anybody coming up my side of the road? No, look the other way, but the other way, there's a sharp curve. This is the same curve that people, drunk people mostly miss and go through our property.
I should not laugh at that.
Don't laugh at that. I just paid to have those trees replanted again. Anyway, but anyway, so I look, road's totally clear. So, and this tree's pretty heavy. It's, maybe 10 foot long and maybe 6 inches at the base. And so I reach down, get the last couple things and last couple branches and kind of start, just kind of pulling it up the side of the road. And I was not on the pavement. I was, but I was off the pavement only maybe 2 or 3 feet, dragging a tree, and, got it up, kind of started muling it, and kind of looked up along the road, and there was a car like coming straight at me that clearly knew the road really well, because as soon as they got around the corner, they had started to pass a car next to them. And then, here I am right next to the road. And it wasn't like it was fine. I wasn't like particularly close, but they had totally slammed on their brakes and were letting the other car go by and like moved back in behind them. Anyway, it was a moment of cars aren't supposed to come from that direction.
Right.
Anyway, that was pretty bad. Anyway, that was one thing. I'll tell you. So the other fun thing, I'm not sure. The other fun-ish thing I started doing on Saturday was building a hay feeder.
A hay feeder.
I don't even think I told you this, but I picked up I picked up 2 old soccer goals, like 12 feet wide by 5.5 feet tall.
Okay.
Maybe 6 feet tall, and just the metal parts of them. And we are going to turn at least one of them, I don't know, the other one, into a hay feeder. Basically, a place that we can feed the cows and goats and stuff out of the weather and control the hay. Because at the moment they get the hay everywhere, and then once they step on it and poop in it and everything else, they don't eat it.
Right.
It's a waste of money, waste of hay, So anyway, so I got all the stuff to get it made, and started it on Saturday before we had something else go on Saturday afternoon. But so I have all the boards affixed to the metal, and I got the metal cut for the roof and the kind of back of it, and then had to go Saturday. And then Saturday night when I got back, I went, instead of going back to work, I went and saw the Bond with my boys.
Nice.
But then Sunday I went out to go finish it, and Sunday was not a great day to be trying to work with long sheets of metal outside.
It was both windy and wet.
Super windy. Yeah. So I spent maybe 20 minutes outside going, I could power through this, and then was like, and maybe not. So I was like, and so maybe next weekend I will get back to this particular project. So
I appreciate your enthusiastic optimism.
I know. Sometimes it gets the better of me, and I was like, yeah. Actually, my wife was the sane one. Actually, there, to be honest, she came out and she was like, "Do you think if we affixed this and actually got it done, that it would actually stay down if we didn't have it anchored?" And I was like, "There's a good chance no. maybe we don't do this." So Anyway, that was pretty funny. So Sunday, at least that particular part of Sunday became, well, maybe a rainy Sunday is a good time to go to Costco.
Okay.
Anyway, it's pretty funny.
And
so,
are we gonna spoil the Bond movie for other people now that you've already watched it?
I think we totally should.
So I guess first off, what did you think of the movie in general?
Okay, so folks, in your podcast record or your podcast player, you could probably go in and skip chapter and go to the next chapter here. I think Daniel Craig makes a very good James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Having rewatched it, I was like, I really needed to go either watch or rewatch Spectre, because did I watch Spectre?
Right.
I'm now not sure, but anyway, I enjoyed it. I thought the character development even before the opening credits, was awesome. I was really happy that they kind of brought her back in. I was happy about the her little surprise. They sure ended the movie with a
bang, not a whimper.
Gavel.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig is not coming back from that.
No.
Yeah.
So we're giving it away without saying it, but yes. So the things that I liked is they really set up the 007 is just a number. It's not a person, right?
Uh-huh.
And gave you this movie ending is going to upset some of you because it's never happened to James Bond before.
Correct.
But we are giving you all the tools mentally to understand that there will be another James Bond. There will be another 007. Let me rephrase. There will be another 007. I'm sure his name will not, the director did say that it will be.
My kids walked out going,
yeah, it won't be James Bond.
My kids walked out going, it'll be Jane Bond.
Jane Bond. No, I think I had mentioned that to my wife, and she said she read an article where the producer or the owner of the Bond franchise said, nope, James Bond is a man. It's written for a man. If we want powerful women characters, we should write powerful women characters and not try to shoehorn a woman into a man, a character written for a man. That was her comment. I'm like, okay, so the next James Bond will not be a woman, but it won't even be James Bond. It will be 007. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough of the spoilers. If you haven't seen it, it was good. It was kind of long. There were some parts that I was like, yeah, you could have shortened the movie a bit, but in general, I really did enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. So my wife did not come with us because she was like, I'm okay to see that in theater. And she also hasn't watched all the other ones. So she's like, yeah, let's just do a marathon at some point and I'll see those. But I wonder if she knows that Rami Malek is in there. She must. She's a real Rami Malek fan.
She watched Mr. Robot?
So no.
Okay.
But he's the guy that did Freddie Mercury. Which was a wonderful I know
movie.
It was terrible. Anyway, that was a wonderful movie. So anyway, but yeah, it was good. I was really happy. I mean, the other thing they did though is they pretty much cleared the slate of the bad actors.
Yeah.
So who's going to be
new?
Who's going to be the next one?
It's all new.
Exactly. So, how about you? Anything else fun for this weekend?
Well, I will mention that we already talked earlier, and you said I can't mention Dune because you haven't watched it yet, but you got to go watch Dune.
No,
we can talk about it next week.
I know. No, maybe my son has like mere hours left on the audiobook, and then we will watch it. But that we did talk about that as a family as well, and my wife is of the opinion that should be watched for the first time in the theater. So my hope / expectation is that we go see that this weekend, assuming that my younger one has finished Dune, the book.
Well, it definitely lends itself for a large screen experience. I will give it that. So I will.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm led to understand that it's not actually the full thing. It's only the part of the book,
subtitle of the movie is Dune Part 1. So just heads up. That actually leads into my something fun. So I'll save the rest.
We'll talk about that later then.
I don't see any follow up in our notes, so we don't have follow up.
No, I threw one thing in follow up, but I didn't actually decide to pull out notes and stuff on it.
That's fine.
So AMD CPUs are also potentially vulnerable to the meltdown attacks. But there you go.
Follow up.
We can move on.
Follow up. Check.
How about topics? What'd you bring?
So I had two that caught my eye, and I guess one is not necessarily a security related topic, but it's kind of security related. Did you have any GPS navigation issues this last week? Did you use maps to get somewhere, and did you get there okay?
I did not. Other than, so the reason I'm hesitating, you can hear the hesitation in my voice, is that a whole bunch of times, in the last 24 or 48 hours, I keep getting told you left your iPod somewhere else. In the Find My app.
Right.
Or the Find My app is sending me notifications that says, hey, I was running some errands earlier. Might talk about it in my something one here a little bit, but I was running errands earlier, and it's I drive away from one place and it says, you left your AirPods. And I'm like, no, they're in my pocket. And then I went to another place. Well, the second place happened to be Panda Express to pick up an order for dinner. and okay, fine. And then as I left there, it says, you left your AirPods. I'm like, this is going to get annoying really fast because I checked my pocket, obviously. No, they're still there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's related.
I don't know, but you remember, we're old enough to remember the hubbub of Y2K, and the fact that I use the term hubbub also indicates my age, I suppose. But there was Y2K, when the year 2000 rolled around.
I was babysitting some friends' kids on New Year's Eve that year. I very much remember that. It's pretty funny. Anyway, and obviously the lead up to it and everything else.
There was the Y2K, and at some point in the future, we've got Y2038 for other issues. But this is in the GPS navigation software. There was a bug that they discovered in the GPS navigation software that is used around the world. The U.S. government was the one who warned companies that if they use this library on October 24th, when it rolled over to the next day, it would reset their clock back 1,024 weeks.
Ooh.
So the most
interesting
probable things that were going to be impacted by this were NTP servers, time servers that try to figure out time based on various means. And the issue, it turns out that the bug was in some sanity checking code within the library and subtracted 1024, so power of 2.
Sanity checking code's not generally supposed to mutate.
No.
The values being sanitized or sanity checked, is it?
No. So anyways, but I didn't see any problems. I didn't see any big news on it, but I thought it was, hey, there you go, another chunk of code running out on the internet that everybody just assumes is going to work and depends on, that potentially could have security issues, especially if that affects the NTP servers. A lot of things make sure that time is, you're not messing with your computer clock to bypass security controls. So it was a fun, I wonder what's going to happen on Sunday this past week. And apparently it was a nothing burger, which is fine. Also, using that word indicates my age.
I can has cheeseburger.
Yes. So there you go. And then my second article, on a lot of places and a lot of states have adopted digital applications, ways to show and validate that you have a COVID-19 vaccine. Has like this. So there's an app called Docket that a number of states.
Not Oregon.
Not Oregon. No, we still have papers, but there is an app that is called Docket that allows states, if they want to, allow residents to show their vaccine records by a scannable QR code for getting into events or restaurants or, wherever you need to go that you need to prove that you had a vaccine through a backend that proves, validates, I says, prove is probably the wrong word, validates that you have the information. Well, we've talked about this before. This app had a flaw that
enumeration.
Yep, you could, if you change.
I haven't even read the article.
If you change.
Sorry.
Yeah, you spoiled my punchline, but it's not hard to know. Not hard to guess that one. The API had a number, and that indicated your information, and the information to return would be your name, date of birth, information about your COVID vaccine status, what type of vaccine you had, when you had the vaccine. And the problem is the servers from this app weren't actually checking to make sure the person requesting the QR code to validate that was actually allowed to request it. So any app, a user could change their user ID and request someone else's code. And to make things exciting, the IDs were sequential. So you could just enumerate by changing the user ID up and down whatever number it was. So they figured out the app.
I wonder if and when are default sample apps not going to indicate that you're getting something by slash book/1/ whatever, and like default app templates, should be made without doing this, and or the other way around. Like, I wonder if some app vulnerability scanner. I bet some of them already do this, but scan for the use of enumeratable identifiers in API.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they're not the only one of these passport or vaccine passport type apps that have had flaws and issues, but another one. So yay, thank you for trying to help streamline things, fix your bugs, and let's move on. So
yeah, we let's see. I don't think it was this past weekend. I think it was the weekend before. We went to the symphony. I feel like I talked about that last week already. But it was the first time that I had to show my vaccine card, and I, in true John fashion, had not bothered to check that I needed to do that. So we're down there, got the tickets from Will Call, and they're checking everyone's vaccine cards at the door, to which I say to my wife, hey, do you still have my vaccine card? And she was like, no, you took it and put it in your backpack when you traveled last. And I was like, so I did. Fortunately, I'm like, I know I took a picture. Like, I thought that I remembered, I thought I took a picture of that a just in case. But so I sat outside the Arlene Schnitzer concert hall for 5 minutes, scrolling up through my photos like one at a time. I swear I searched for vaccine and it didn't come up, because I thought the new version of iOS is supposed to find text in photos. Yep. Anyway, I'll have to look at that again. Anyway, I just sat there, scanned up, and eventually I was like, yes, there it is. Copied those photos out into a note, and put vaccine card at the top of the note, and we were able to get in, no problem. But I had like 2 minutes of panic of, oh crap, if I did not do this, either my wife's going in to watch the symphony without me, or we are leaving and it will be my fault.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was relatively, relatively, quote, funny. I don't know.
Well, I wish we did have, it's like a double-edged sword. I have so much just on my phone that it would be nice if there was a way to just have that on my phone and not have to carry around a paper thing. But I have the same. I have a picture of it, and I also have the other one. So, anyways, what exciting things from the world of security did you see this week?
Sorry, I'm just searching in my photos, and it definitely doesn't come up with that. And there's very clear word vaccination on the photo. All right, maybe I have to go turn on text recognition or something. What exciting things did I find? I brought two.
Okay.
The first one is a Catalan article about DDoS attacks against email providers. And so there was not a ton in this, but there was one particularly funny thing I thought about this. Funny? Yeah. Thing about this in this article. So this is 7 email service, smaller email providers being hit by large distributed denial of service attacks or DDoS attacks over the weekend. And, clearly they're not behind, the DDoS prevention or security services that, Google and Cloudflare and stuff add or have available. But this says for these, they all seem to be carried out by the same threat actor and got letters in a bit. But they're Runbox, Postio, Fastmail, the XYZ, which I've never heard of that one, Guerrilla Mail, Collab Now, and Rise Up. So they're all relatively small. I didn't think Fastmail was very small, but maybe it's all relative compared to Google and Yahoo and Outlook.com these days. So the demand actually wasn't a ton, not when you compare to traditional ransomware payments, about 0.06 Bitcoin or about $4,000. Given 3 days to pay, and with the attackers threatening to take their networks offline if they didn't pay. So this is kind of the kind of crazy part. The emails in this campaign, I'm reading now. The emails in this campaign were signed by a group calling itself the Cursed Patriarch. Okay, and after their campaign was exposed, later emails also incorporated a link to this article.
And just so you know, we're legit. Somebody like a real journalist wrote about us.
This is a real threat. You can read about the.
That's right. Okay.
I don't know. I just found that so funny. That couldn't not be one of my articles. So that's all that there was really in here. Okay. I mean, it was that. What? Okay. The other little bit I pulled out was that, DDoS attacks have continued. There were several mentioned just last month, but they've been generally overshadowed by the ransomware for the last year or more. So, but anyway, that was my first one. Later emails also incorporated a link to this article. My second article is about a cyber attack in Iran against gasoline stations.
I saw that.
So at least when I first saw this, it was a lot more provocative, and when I threw it in here. But the article was edited down, I guess.
Down at a later date.
Because, there was a comment in there about some video footage and then Bloomberg. So this is a Bloomberg article, first and foremost. And Bloomberg still hasn't, I think, recovered from, reputationally in some circles from their implant story 2 years ago, whenever that was, and they never backed down from it. And who anyway.
Yeah.
But so the first version of this article, and the reason I threw it into the Slack channel was I was like, holy crap, that's pretty crazy. But then if it wasn't verified video, maybe it was, could easily have been faked and stuff like that. So It still was a real attack. And Iran, Iran blamed, the quote is, Iran blamed a cyber attack for nationwide disruption at petrol stations that halted subsidized fuel access for millions of drivers weeks away from the anniversary of deadly protests over gasoline prices. Mm-hmm. So evidently, again, I guess I didn't realize this, but the Iranian government provides discounted gasoline. It wasn't in this article who gets it and why, but there's evidently software at the pump that controls who gets this discounted gasoline, and that was the target. So the target, quote, was software controlling a smart payment system which the government uses to manage the distribution of discounted gasoline at petrol pumps. The
software runs everything.
Yeah. We had a family conversation at the dinner table the other day, which we have lots of, what I think are pretty good conversations. My kids say, you guys are nerds and maybe you should stop talking. Because both my wife and I are science people. But we were talking about the fact that the reason why software is so powerful is the marginal cost it drives to zero. Mm-hmm. And, which is like, and so, for me, at least with my kids, what does the 10,001st copy of a piece of software cost to sell? Nothing, right? You spend all the money to sell the first copy, assuming you're selling actually copies of the software, which, blah, 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 and we did have a slight cloud digression on that, but that's just in the interests of accuracy anyway. But, software is ruling the world. I still don't think either of my kids are going to go into software, but whatever. They can gotta do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the only other fact I pulled out of here was that, the quote is some 40% of gas stations were operating manually, selling gas at the higher unsubsidized rate by late afternoon in Tehran.
Right.
So it says state TV reported showing lines of motorcycles and other vehicles queuing outside. For even 40% is a pretty low number.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't heard what other consequences there were from this, but it will be interesting to see if there's some follow up here for who's the responsible party. So, if something comes out. But anyway, that was the other article I picked out.
All right.
So
something fun.
How about something fun?
And I feel like this entire episode of the podcast has been an episode of tangents. So I'm looping back to the beginning.
I have been pretty bad, I think, about the tangentifying. Sorry,
I did not mention that to say it was a bad thing. So
it's all good. It's all good.
Dune, which mentioned at the beginning, when we watched the movie, I don't think I'm spoiling anything because it says it's part one on the movie. It is not the whole book. And when we watched it, we were reading my wife and I watched it. We were reading articles that said part two hasn't even started filming, and it may or may not be created because they're waiting to see how well part one does before they commit dollars to part two. And so we were griping over the fact, because we loved it. I think we're going to watch it again this weekend. But we were kind of griping over the fact that, but now I want part two. How come they haven't earlier? Well, not today. Yeah. It was, I guess, yesterday. Dune Part 2 was officially greenlit and is set for release in October of 2023. So I got 2 years to wait, but I will get additional Dune to continue the story, which will be good.
Uh-huh.
And I hope this doesn't also ruin anything, but a buddy of mine who absolutely loves Dune and has read all the books and everything, I after he saw it, I asked him, because I couldn't tell where the movie ended relative to the books. And he's like, I think it's in his opinion, at the pacing they did, it's going to be a 3-part movie. Like, so I'm going to have to wait till 2025 to get the finish. But anyways, go see Dune. It's officially getting a sequel.
And that's just for the first book.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, there's tons this could be Harry Potter. There could be 8. They could keep going with this if it keeps making money, So anyways, that's my something fun. If you haven't seen Dune, go see it. If you have seen Dune and were disappointed for any reason whatsoever, it is getting a sequel already. So,
okay.
Yay.
And maybe go see it in the theater.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to try and see it in the theater.
Good plan.
And hopefully this weekend.
All right.
Hopefully this weekend. So we'll spoil that. We'll spoil that next week. Next week. So I'm going to have something fun.
Okay.
I threw this first link in here just a few minutes ago. I forget. You said something. It made me go on a tangent and think about something that I watched earlier today while I was at the tire store getting 3 new tires on my car because I came home
right
Monday to a flat tire on my Explorer. And so Monday night I took the tire off. Yesterday I took it in and got the one tire replaced. And then tonight I went in and got the other 3 done because I'm like, my car's going to die. I didn't want to put new tires on it, but my wife was like, it's worth it. You should just do that. And I was like, okay, fine. So anyway, so I'm sitting there in the tire tire store waiting room, and I could not help but laugh out loud a couple of times watching this video. And I watched a couple by him. So this is a YouTube link of a guy who built a chainsaw CNC. So I will just say that it started out with him getting an email or something from a robotic arm company. Right. I forgot the name of it already. Sorry, but who evidently sent him a mail and said, "Would you like one of these?" And he was like, "Next time, just send it to me. I'll figure out what to do with it." But yes, so like one of those like articulating arms, they have in auto like manufacturing plants. Not quite as large, but big enough to wield a chainsaw. And so his goal was to have the CNC be able to carve a bear out of a log. So I will not spoil the rest of that.
I'm watching the video as you talk.
It was... Oh, come on. Well, it's
on
long.
Mute, so I need to stop it and actually listen to what he says.
Yeah. Well, stop. Okay. Yeah. No. You have to because he's very disparaging about software. He's like, so I spent 3 days writing the software, and I'd love to show you, but it's just way too boring. So I'm like, no. We could like that's what Twitch is for, right?
That's right.
Anyway, so. So that's my first something fun. And that was only because that did happen earlier. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's really awesome. Then, and that's actually where I was when I said, sorry, I'm tangenting. When my AirPods said I left them there the first time. And then I went across the street to bring home Panda Express. And then I left there and it said I left them at Panda Express. I'm like, no, I really didn't. And I'm about to turn off the save my AirPods from being lost. Anyway, so I ran home and I was late for a lecture. So as a family, we watched a lecture tonight from OSU by this neuroscientist, David Eagleman, who has a recent book out called Live Wired. I actually hadn't heard of this guy before, but I'm probably going to go read his book because he was an incredibly engaging speaker. have you ever heard of a hemispherectomy?
No. I mean, just
For
looking at the title of the book, it makes me think of lobotomy, but
yeah. Well, his example was for a kid who was experiencing continuous epileptic seizures. Mm-hmm. They basically go in and take out one half of the brain, and you would never know it. Like
half your brain is like an appendix.
So he said that people that have this done often have some fine motor loss from the opposite side because the right side of your brain controls your left side of your body, but that in general, they can still talk, function, like be, he had some MRIs that it was like, are you kidding me? I did not think that was at all possible. And
does the brain rewire
and he had another
itself?
one.
So
yeah,
that
totally.
Wow.
That was the whole thing was about how flexible the brain is with whatever input you give it, and this relates to people that are blind and have their other senses, or people that can't hear.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that was the other really cool thing about the lecture was, your brain will, oh gosh, there's two other facts here I want to do. Like, your brain will automatically adapt to the other, the input it has. Because it's in a blind box. The only thing it has is input signals, and it will try and map whatever it has to input signals. And in fact, so before I talk about this next cool thing, he said the conjecture is the reason. So let me actually guess. Can you think of how dreaming might be related to the moon, rotation of the Earth?
Tide. Same thing with tides.
It doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I should put you on the spot like that.
Making crap up. No.
They have measured that your brain begins to adapt within minutes of loss of senses. So like they've blindfolded people, put them in the fMRIs, and then done imaging of what happens in the brain. So the conjecture is that the problem, like the brain has parts of it that are like trying to adapt continuously. And so, I'm on to this. The hypothesis is that the reason we dream is because the brain has to keep our visual cortex stimulated periodically, or else the brain will rewire itself to not care about visual stimuli. And when it's dark for a significant period of time, if that is not there, it will rewire itself out. And so dreaming is perhaps an adaptation to sustain and maintain those areas of the brain that would otherwise get taken over by other senses or other inputs periodic or continuously every night. Anyway, I thought that was crazy. There was a lot of crazy stuff in what he was talking about. But the company that he founded is called Neosensory, and they have developed technology basically to help deaf people and blind people, but in particular, the farthest along are the deaf people hear with their skin. So basically, being able, the first prototype was a vest that would respond to sound waves and then would vibrate in different ways based on the frequency.
Right.
And so he said, there was a question about how long does it take. Sorry, let me actually say first. So they have one of the things he played was a video of a deaf person hearing sounds, or hearing words being said, and then writing the word that he heard on a whiteboard. But he's hearing the word through his vest.
Wow.
On his chest. So, the brain will adapt to the input that it has. So, and one of the questions in the Q&A portion was, well, how do you choose how to represent different sounds in the devices? And his answer was, it actually doesn't matter, because the plasticity of the brain will adapt to whatever your representation is, so long as it's consistent.
Right.
So, sound is just different frequencies. So if you're consistent with how those frequencies are done, it does this. And so their newest thing is actually just a watch-ish shaped thing, where that goes on the wrist and then vibrates in particular ways, and the brain adapts to being able to hear through your skin.
That is
kind of mind-blowing.
That is cool. And
kind of mind-blowing.
While you were talking,
so
the book is $5 on Kindle, so it's now chapter 1 on my phone. I've got chapter 1 on my phone.
I threw the Amazon link in there, figuring that we would put that. Oh, look at that! All right, well, so, I will buy that as well.
Looked cool.
Done. Click. All right, I bought.
All right, dude.
So, anyway, that was my something fun tonight.
Very nice. I think we'll.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Finish.
It's what it is. All right, call it a show
before we spin off into another tangent.
Sounds right. Good. Have a great night, Eric. I'll talk to you later.
We'll see you, John.
Bye.
Bye.